Next to the stage, Brad Scoggin is the co-founder and CEO of Arbor XR. He told me not to say too much, so I'll just bring Brad right on up stage. Come on, Brad.
One of the biggest barriers to modern man reaching its full potential is distraction. And at Arbor, we believe that XR is at its best when it's being used as a tool for more effective and more efficient work, training, travel, learning, and even therapy. A tool that should give us our time back to spend in real, meaningful relationships. At Arbor, we've spent the last 5 years working to remove the friction that's kept XR from achieving scale in the enterprise space.
ArborXR started with a simple idea. Using XR in your organization should be easy. Over the last 5 years, we've talked to thousands of companies deploying XR. What have we learned? XR is different. Companies do fine with a few headsets, but as they go beyond that, they get stuck. Managing a fleet of headsets is difficult, from enrolling, distributing to your team, and managing remotely. Traditional MDM solutions aren't working either. They're built for phones and laptops, not headsets. That's why we built Arbor XR, device management designed specifically for the challenges of deploying XR. Quickly provision a fleet of headsets, manage thousands of devices, install apps and files remotely with total control, and create an effortless user experience in the headset. We're powering deployments all over the world. Arbor XR is device management made easy. Get started today.
So Arbor XR is an MDM, a mobile device management, designed specifically for XR. So when we say MDM, I want you to think device management, content management, and user management. I put on a headset for the first time 5 years ago and was totally blown away by the technology. Like most of you, we believed that XR was going to change the world, and we wanted to be a part of shaping that impact for good. So 6 weeks later, we opened up one of the first virtual reality arcades in the world, in the Midwestern United States, and it was just an incredible experience. We got to see thousands of people experiencing the power of VR for the first time, but we also got to experience the pain of deploying VR firsthand. And we kept coming back to the same conclusion. Deploying VR or getting into VR should be easy. So a few months later, we launched a software company called Springboard VR, focused specifically on removing this friction. So we focused on managing devices, managing content, and managing users. And over the next 18 months, we became a global leader in that space. And it was an incredible time for us. It was a lot of fun. We were in 40+ countries. We had the largest VR content marketplace, commercial marketplace in the world. But all along the journey, we were looking for a more meaningful implication or application of the technology. And gaming is fun, and I think it's really important. I think we'll look back at this time and see that VR arcades played a really important role in the overall ecosystem because a lot of people experience VR for the first time at an arcade. But we did several deep dives into both education and enterprise because we were looking for a more direct, meaningful impact. And the timing just wasn't right. But we learned a lot about the barriers in both of those markets. 2019, we felt the market for enterprise starting to heat up. And so in 2020, we began to pivot. We began building our enterprise-specific product. And coming into this year, we sold the entertainment division of our company. We've rebranded as Arbor XR, fully focused on solving the same problems we did in entertainment in the enterprise space. So today, we are working with just over 400 companies, and that's everything from small and medium business all the way to the Fortune 500. We work with several major hardware companies and a lot of independent software vendors or content creators. And because I want to impress you, but I don't want to give away too much, I'll tell you one of our larger customers is doing a 15,000 headset deployment. Over the last 5 years, we've talked to thousands of companies, and we've learned a ton. And we've really developed a value of sharing with you in our journey along the way. We keep coming back, though, to the same conclusion that getting into VR should be easy. Before I go into some case studies that I do want to share, we have 3 case studies for you. I just want to offer a little bit of encouragement. If you're still in VR, you've probably been in it for a while, or XR, and it's a bit of a slog. We just finished our Series A, and it's been a journey for us. And you always want to be very honest and objective with your investors, but that's especially true with friends and family. We have some friends and family on our cap table from the early days. So I want to just share with you briefly what I told my dad a few weeks ago. The friends and family investors look to me and say, Brad, we don't really understand the market, but how do you think things are going? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? So this is exactly what I told him. Now is absolutely the time for XR. We're not approaching the curve, we're in the curve, especially in the enterprise space. And there's several reasons why. In XR in particular, many of the barriers that existed even just a couple years ago no longer exist. So number one, it's hardware. One of the biggest barriers when we first did some pilots in education in particular was that there was no, all the headsets were tethered. So obviously that's not an issue anymore. There's a lot of really good wireless headsets. Second, content. There's a ton of great content out there. And third, what we're seeing on the front lines, we are seeing month over month our sign-up requests increase. The quality of our sign-up requests are increasing. Just this last week, we had our best single day of sign-ups. So hopefully that's encouraging for everybody. But I believe there's 3 X factors for why now is the time for XR enterprise. And the first is the efficacy data. And there's a lot of great data out there. I'm just going to share a couple with you. This is a study done by the University of Cambridge. They compared traditional training versus training done in VR. What they found is that training in VR resulted in 28% more productivity and 55% faster learning. Those are not insignificant percentages. And so while we're all very excited that we're in this kind of revolution here with XR, I think we're also on the front end of a learning revolution, which is really exciting. Another great example is Children's Hospital in Miami. So they use VR to train their staff in life-saving skills like intubation, CPR, and catheter placement. What they report is that after doing the training in VR, a year later, there's an 80% retention rate on what the trainees learned versus traditional training, it's 20%, which I think is a little high, after just 1 week. Next is the Fortune 500 adoption. So let's be real, the hardware companies, software companies like us, we're betting on XR. The Fortune 500 don't adopt if it doesn't work. And in the last several months in particular, we've seen a major uptick in Fortune 500 adoption. And the third X factor, and this has just come up in the last, probably the last 6 weeks, high school adoption. Now, generally, when you think about an early adopter, you don't think education. We are seeing public schools in the US and even in small town America rapidly adopting XR for in-class training, which to me is really, really exciting. So all this great news, and what's the problem? Unfortunately, a great deal of friction still exists for a company or a content creator to move from a small-scale pilot to a large-scale deployment. And traditional MDMs and Oculus for Business just don't cut it. Now I'm going to give us a moment of silence for OFB. Most of you probably heard, but a couple weeks ago, when Meta was announced, it was also announced that the OFB program was going to be ending. And so there's a lot of questions surrounding this. There's a lot of implications. Kind of the 2 big takeaways, I think, that matter for us today. The device manager, which is tied to the OFB platform. If you have an OFB headset, you will still be able to use the device manager. But going forward, when you're purchasing new headsets or consumer quests, the device manager, from our understanding, is not going to be available until the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. There's a bit of a gap between now and then. One of the silver linings, though, is that our understanding is that at that point, Facebook accounts will no longer be necessary to log into the headset. Yeah, right. So the other good news, which we got clapped for this too, is we built ArborXR to remove not just the friction that OFB, or the lack of OFB has caused, but the friction in general for deploying XR in your organization, because we believe that it should be easy for everyone to get into XR. So this is very interesting. From the very beginning, doesn't XR feel like it's been like decades? From the very first time we got into VR, the challenges haven't changed a lot. They're still the same kind of 3 primary buckets. It's device management, content management, and user management. I want to get into the case studies here. So I want to go through 3 customer case studies, and these are the 3 primary use cases we have seen in enterprise. So the first is pretty clear, the enterprise deploying XR. The last is pretty clear, ISV, independent software vendor, content creator. The middle one is very interesting. So a content creator, an ISV, acting as an MSP. managed service provider. So this has been a surprise to us, but there are a lot of content creators who are actually managing deployments on behalf of their customers. So we'll get into that. We will. My clicker. Boom. Okay. So first case study is Axon as an enterprise. So you may be familiar with Axon. Axon's a really cool company. They actually invented the taser. They were called, the name of the company was Taser. They're now called Axon. They do the police body cams, and their mission is to make the bullet obsolete. So Axon, in conjunction with HTC, is rolling out police training across North America to police stations to do empathy training for police officers. So they've got some very unique use cases that we've found, or challenges, as we've worked on this deployment with them. One, they have got to get a lot of headsets set up quickly. Number two, once the headsets are shipped out across North America, they need to easily manage those headsets. And then number three, they need to make sure that the right police officer is getting into the right training, because in most of these situations, you've got more than one police officer using the same headset. So our first solution is bulk enrollment. So we've got a desktop provisioning app. We have configuration packages so you can preset the content, the Wi-Fi settings, et cetera, and it's a few clicks to push that to a lot of headsets. We work very closely with several hardware companies also, HTC in particular, on this Axon deployment. And this is a solution that traditional MDMs absolutely don't have, and the Oculus or the Meta device manager also does not have. Next, once the devices are in the field, we offer a one-stop panel where they can have total visibility on the thousands of devices deployed across North America. They have total control over those devices. And then, of course, they're able to have visibility on the basic things like device health, network health, et cetera. This is a feature that traditional MDMs and the Oculus device manager do have. And then third is security. And this is a really big one, obviously. But the first thing that we're able to do is in-VR authentication that integrates with your existing single sign-on. And then second, I want to sit on this one for a second. We offer a custom launcher. So at first glance, this sounds kind of like, okay, it's nice to have. You have a custom launcher. But this is really imperative from a security perspective, because without the ability to customize the in-headset environment, there is no way to fully restrict your user from getting into content or settings or web browsers that you don't want them to get into. MDMs will do this for one piece of content. They have a single app, they call single app kiosk mode. What we found is that 70% of our customers are actually using more than one piece of content, so it doesn't really work there. And then the Oculus device manager is just not customizable, the in-headset launcher. And then, of course, we do the remote factory reset and remote shutdown. So next case study is Pixo. Pixo is a really cool company. Pixo is an ISV, independent software vendor, content creator, who is acting as an MSP, managed service provider, for their clients. So Pixo has created a lot of really high-end content. I think they have over 70 titles that they're working with, and they work with a lot of big-name clients, Ford, Bosch, Aramco. I just got an email today or yesterday with several other clients they just closed that I can't share. But they are actually managing these deployments on behalf of these customers. So there's some unique challenges that they have faced. Number one is setup. They need the ability to set up accounts on behalf of the customers for whom they're managing these deployments. Second, content. They've got to have total control when it comes to the content, because they're pushing a lot of different content to a lot of different customers and headsets. And then third, they work with multiple device types, because they manage deployments for multiple companies. Not every company is using the same headset, and they need a way to be able to manage all of that in one location. So the first solution is multi-org support. So this is what allows the Pixos of a world to actually be an MSP. They're able to go in and set up accounts on behalf of their customers, and it's very simple to then share content between orgs, and we've got flexible billing options. And this, again, this is a feature that the MDMs and that the Oculus device manager, they don't have this. Second is content distribution. And I want to pause on this just like we did with the in-headset launcher. Because at first glance, again, this feels like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. This is one of the biggest deals when it comes to deploying XR in your organization. So number one, you've got to be able to deploy larger files, APKs, 360 video. I think we all know that. The nuance here, though, is that we're able to offer Pixo the ability to have absolute control. They can do version management. They can roll back to different versions. They can set the time of when the app is going to be installed. They can remotely determine, has the app installed? What percentage has the app installed? Are there any issues? And I want you to just imagine if you have 10 headsets that you're putting content onto. The way that this is done right now is you put the content on the headset and you're putting the headset on. Has it installed? Has it installed? It's not a huge deal if you've got 10 headsets, but imagine if it's 50 or 100 or 1,000. And now it's not just an annoyance, it's really become impossible. And that's kind of, just to pull back, that's the whole challenge here, is that with 3 to 5 or 10 headsets, some of these friction points are just annoying. When you move to 20, 50, 100, 1,000, it really becomes impossible to do a true deployment. And then third, we're device agnostic. So Pixo is able to see and manage all of their customers in one location, regardless of headset type. One interesting note here is that of our customers, 40% are using multiple device types within one organization. Another interesting stat, so this is the percentage breakdown of headsets on our platform today. So you see the Neo 2 and the Focus 3 are at the top. The Neo 3 is on the rise, it's newer, and then we absolutely, in the last week, the number of sign-up requests we've had come in since the OFB announcement has been kind of through the roof. So we expect that to grow as well. And then the third case study would be the ISV. So we work with a lot of ISVs. Some of these ISVs do some level of managed service for their customers. A lot of them, though, are just creating content. So ISVs like Prisms, Moth and Flame, Axon Park, Oxford VR. And for the ISV, they want to focus on what they do best, which is creating high-quality content. So their challenges are simple, but not unimportant. So number one, they need a way to easily store their content. Where do they host their content? Number two is distribution. They need to be able to easily share content and push content to their customers. So the way we solve this is first, with a content library, you're able to store large files, 360 videos, supporting documents like MP4s, all in the cloud. So our ISVs can build that library. And then second is content sharing. And I have objectively, I almost said bashed. I don't say bashed. I've objectively talked about the Oculus Device Manager. We stole this idea from them, so we'll give them props here. But content sharing is what allows ISVs to easily share to any of the customers that they're working with. Arbor creates a bridge between the ISV and the customer, and with a few clicks, they can share content. And of course, the ISV also has access to all the other robust set of content features we just talked about a few minutes ago. So in conclusion, I hope that you are encouraged that the revolution has started. It's not going to start, that XR is happening, and in enterprise in particular. We should all be encouraged that we're a part of that. And it's 5 years in this, 5 years working on removing the friction. Our conclusion is it's absolutely imperative that you have an XR-specific MDM if you're going to do anything more than a handful of headsets. We'd love for you to start a free trial. More importantly, though, come see us. We'll be there. I think, who thought that the exhibit started today? A lot of people did? Yeah. I guess someone told me that it hasn't been that way in the past, so maybe it's just the newbies. But tomorrow, you can come see us at our booth. We'll be at booth 400. We'd love to visit with you, shake your hand, answer any questions you have.